everyone, welcome to Bickering Book Reviews. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Becky.
And today we're talking about Now That I Found You by Kristina Forest, which I got off Edelweiss. How about you?
So I think Edelweiss.
Okay, so this is about the journey of Evie, who was this up-and-coming star. She's from this family of, like, movie people. Her grandma was this prominent African-American actress. Her parents are these phenomenal documentary makers. And so she's gone to schools to learn how to act and was discovered by one of these really awesome directors. So she's getting ready to, like, take part in the movies. And she was kind of celebrating that fact with her pseudo best friend. She didn't realize that the best friend was pseudo, though. And the two got to drinking a little bit more than they should have. Well, Evie, got to drinking a little bit more than she should have. And her best friend recorded her doing an impression of her director / boss. And she wasn't saying great things. So the pseudo best friend publishes it to the media outlets, and Evie becomes persona non grata and, like, gets kicked off the movie project and has no work at that point. And she's given kind of one opportunity from her grandmother's ex-husband, who was in this, like, award-winning film with her that, like, really set off their careers. And it's, like, the 50th anniversary of that film. So the ex-husband and Evie's grandma have been fighting the whole time. Like, something serious happened. Evie doesn't really know what, and nobody else really does either. But the ex-husband is asking Evie, he's like, you can be in this remake of this movie, but you've got to convince your grandma to give her blessing. So Evie travels to go stay with her grandma and get that blessing. When she's there, she realizes that her grandma's living with this, like, teen musician. He's actually on a gap year, essentially, to try to get his music going. And she totally doesn't like him. I don't know why she doesn't like him, but she doesn't like him.
I think she thinks he's mooching. Like, she thinks that he's just, like, this, like, nobody who's latched onto the star that is her grandma.
So she thinks he's a moocher. And shortly after she arrives, her grandma disappears, like, without a trace. Well, she left a note, and she was like, I'm coming. But even
don't worry about the cats.
Yeah.
I'll be back whenever, but the cats are taken care of.
And she doesn't know where her grandma went. And so basically her and Milo kind of team up to go find the grandma. And because the grandma needs to be there for this award ceremony that's coming up in a certain amount of time, and she wants to make sure she gets her grandma on board for this new movie project. So there's kind of this rush to find the grandma so that everything can be set in line and Evie can get her career back on track. So that's really the book. And the problem with all of this is we were having difficulty remembering what happened in the book, and we just finished reading it earlier this week.
That's the problem, right? So, like, I couldn't remember the characters' names, and to be quite honest, the part I remember is the grandmother story. I would have much rather have read an adult book about the grandmother coming up in the 1970s as an African-American starlet. And she marries this man, and then they get divorced, and then they get married again, and then they get divorced, and then she marries somebody else, and they have this big love and a child, and then he dies. And then she goes back to the first husband, and they're married again for, like, 10 years, and then something happens, and she roasts him at this big event, and she's never seen with him again. Like, that's awesome. And that I remember every detail of. I don't remember Evie. I feel like there was a lot of this book of them on, like, subways and in cars. Yeah. Going places.
Yeah, they were going to a lot of places.
Which I like books, like, where, like, it's almost like a scavenger hunt. I like those kinds of books. Like, they're scavenger hunting her grandmother. Yeah. But I don't really remember it.
Yeah. I mean, I liked I liked the idea of Milo's band. Like, I thought that was really sweet, and, like, I wish we would have explored that more. It felt very similar to Spinnerbait from,
yeah.
Well, not Spinnerbait, it was
the other band, but Spinnerbait sucks. The
So,
old Sarah Dessen books. The book, it's the band from this lullaby.
but anyway,
Got sold on Netflix, so hopefully they'll make it into a movie. I'm super excited because I loved that book.
so, but the band in this like had that potential, and I liked the fact that this was just a fluffy book. I
Right.
like the fact that it's a fluffy book, that it's not about serious issues. It's just I had a PR nightmare, and now I'm fixing it, and I'm finding love potentially along the way. Like, it's cute.
So, and when I used to work in an inner city library, and I always wanted like fluffy YA books for African American girls that were not like issue driven. And I think this author, Kristina Forest, she is doing that. She's writing books for African American teens that are just fun. I wish, like with the story development and everything else, this would have been a great tween book, even with a little bit of the drinking. But then they start swearing halfway through, and I'm like, no, I can't give it to a 10-year-old or 11-year-old. And I think that there are great things. There's a nice little cameo from the first book. But it was like, it showed how that character in the first book is still successful with her ballet. And I like that. I like that she's showing African American girls that there are options to be a ballet dancer or to be a serious dramatic actress.
Or a band member. Like,
right. I just wasn't like sucked in by Evie. Like, I wish Evie was stronger.
Yeah, I agree.
And the book it's a quick read. It was a quick read. I think it's good for like teens. I think even reluctant readers might kind of get it.
Yeah.
The cover is cool.
Yeah, the cover's nice.
So like in theory, all the aspects were great. I just never fell in love with the main character like I should have to really enjoy this book.
No, I agree.
But if she decides to write a book about Evie's grandma, I'll be the first person in line.
Well, let's just be honest. I'm going to keep reading this author because I think that she brings something new to the table that we need, and she's giving stories to people. She's presenting stories that aren't being told widely across the YA world.
She's presenting diversity in an organic, non-forced way that the kids who will need those books will enjoy it.
Right. So.
Because I think she is doing for African American teen girls what Sarah Dessen did 20 years ago for Caucasian girls. She's giving them stories that are realistic enough, but there's also a bit of fantasy. Because Evie's dealing with this like friend betrayal, and she's got these issues with her absentee parents, but she's also a movie star, you know? So there is that fantasy. There is like this would make a great Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Like, I would totally watch that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we rate it?
Yes. So our rating scale starts with 5 unicorns, and it goes down to 2 unicorns. If it is not magical and does not deserve a horn, it is therefore a horse. Where are you?
I'm going to say 3. Like, the story could have been a 4, but Evie just didn't get me enough to be a 4. Like, if I had cared more.
Yeah, I think it's a 3. I think the fact that I couldn't remember a large scads of things about this book makes it a 3. Like,
no, that's a very good point. As close as it has been since we've both read it, it should be better ingrained. So that's where we are now that you found me. And we'll see you around.
I thought it was now that I found you.
Now that I found you? Probably now that I found you. Whatever.
I will see you around.
Bye.